What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name's CJ, and in today's video, we're back at it with some NBA props for you. We're going to be talking about some different points, assists, rebounds, and three-point props that we're liking on tonight's NBA slate. Now, we got two NBA games to talk about here, the Milwaukee Bucks at the Brooklyn Nets and the Denver Nuggets at the Phoenix Suns. So, two fun and hopefully competitive games without blowouts. Cross your fingers. Blowouts are the bane of my existence when it comes to sports betting, playing on PrizePicks, playing daily fantasy sports, you name it. We don't like blowouts. Anyway, when I last saw you guys, it was back on Friday. That video ended up doing pretty darn well. Out of the 5 picks that I gave you, 4 of them ended up hitting. The only one that flopped was Kristaps Porzingis, so I apologize for that. He didn't decide to kick it into gear until yesterday, Sunday's game. He finally went over his points prop, but too little, too late. It would have been nice if he would have helped us out on Friday. If this is your first time to the channel, thank you so much for joining us. Here on this channel, we talk all things player props. Right now, our main focus is NBA, so definitely make sure that you're subscribed with notifications turned on. The props that I discuss in today's video have a shelf life of about an hour or so. Once I post this video, PrizePicks does their very best to hold these lines in place for us to give us time to go out there and lock in some entries. So you got to definitely make sure that you're subscribed and that notifications are turned on so that you don't miss any of the plays and the picks that I put out in this video. Now, if you don't play on PrizePicks, now's a fantastic time to sign up. They're doing a 100% instant deposit match for your first deposit. So you can deposit anywhere from $20 up to $100. They'll match that deposit 100% of the way, giving you double your money. So if you put in $100, they're going to give you $100. You'll have $200 to play with over on PrizePicks. Fantastic time to get started. Use promo code Curry. It's on the banner at the bottom of this video, and I'll leave a link down in the description below. I'll also leave a link for you to join the Patreon group if you would like to. We're giving more information, more value out than we can in a 20 to 25 minute YouTube video. So if you want more picks, more different plays, more different ways for you to go, definitely think about joining the Patreon. It's not too late. It's beginning of the month is the best time to go ahead and join that. So I appreciate all the Patreons out there who support my work. It allows me to keep making these videos for you guys, and I hope to keep building up that group. So without further ado, let's start getting into some of these picks, talking about these games and seeing where things are going. I think I've got 5 pretty juicy ones for you, so we'll see what happens here. The first game is the Milwaukee Bucks at the Brooklyn Nets. This game has a 236.5 implied point total, so pretty doggone high totals. That's what we like to see, 230, 240 implied points. These are the types of games that are fun to watch, and they're fun for daily fantasy sports purposes, sports betting purposes, you name it. So with Brooklyn, they're just a 1-point favorite at home, meaning that this spread is close and competitive. It's going to be high scoring. It's going to be a lot of action. This is the type of game where you like to target a lot of overplays. So this is a good game here to target. This is one I'm definitely looking forward to. Now, the next game we have is the Denver Nuggets at the Phoenix Suns. This one has an implied point total of 221.5 points. Phoenix is a 5-point favorite at home. I don't know if I'm surprised by that, but a little bit, I guess. I figured that Denver would make it a little bit more of a closer spread than that, but nonetheless, pretty good totals here. I'm not really worried about this game blowing out either. It looks like it's going to be another one of those games that's going to be pretty close, competitive, and we should see lots of points and fantasy stats and all that stuff go up because of these totals. So first game of that series should be a good one. All right, with that out of the way, let's start looking at some of these player props. I've got Kevin Durant at 32.5 points, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but this seems like it could be a little bit too high. Of course, James Harden's going to be out for this Brooklyn Nets team, so that's going to impact guys like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris. We saw Blake Griffin really step up in a big way after James Harden left the game early. So it'll be interesting here. Let's take a look at Kevin Durant and these points, though. So we got him projected at 32.5. They've got him at 31.7 over on NumberFire. In case you're not familiar with NumberFire, it's a totally free site for you to go and look up single stat player props. You can also look at fantasy point props if you're interested in that. They've got projections for just about everything you could think of for NBA. So definitely give NumberFire a look if you haven't yet. 31.7 though obviously would make us believe that we should be looking at taking the under on Kevin Durant at 32.5 points, which based on some research I was doing before I start recording this video, it does look like a reasonable way to go here. So let's dig in a little bit further here on Kevin Durant and see if that makes any sense whatsoever. Our first stop is going to be NBA.com. Now you can see for the season, he scores 26.9 points per game, which puts him well under 32.5 points. But this is Kevin Durant, probably one of the top 5 players in the league, if I do say so myself. So let's dig in a little bit further here. We go from his season averages and look at his playoff averages so far. He's played in 6 games, averaging about 37.7 minutes per game. And during that time, 32 points per game. Now, 32 points per game is still less than 32.5 points. So the under is still definitely still on the table, if you ask me. In my opinion, the under is still definitely in play. So let's take it a step further. We'll click traditional splits. We'll go to advanced filters. We'll remove this playoff filter and we'll change the opponent to the Milwaukee Bucks here. We'll click run it and we'll see what kind of results we get. He faced Milwaukee 3 times in the regular season, 38.6 minutes per game, and he put up 34.7 points per game against the Bucks in those 3 regular season meetings. So this is a little bit of a red flag, a little bit of a knock against Kevin Durant going under this 32.5 point prop, but I'm not too worried or too scared about that. Now let's go over to Basketball Reference real quick because I want to type in Kevin Durant's name. We'll open up his game logs real quick, and we'll just take a look at how well he's been scoring the basketball. So in his previous game here against this Milwaukee Bucks team, he ended up dropping in 29 points. Now, 29 points is obviously good for the under, meaning he did not cover today's prop of 32.5 in that game. And really, if you look at his last several games throughout the playoffs here, he's got 29, 24, and 26 and a 32. So there's been 4 games in his 6 games that he's played in the playoffs this season where he has not covered 32.5 points. But I want to take things a step further. Over here on rotogrinders.com, now they've got a free Court IQ feature that's pretty helpful. So what we're going to do here is we've removed James Harden, Jeff Green, Spencer Dinwiddie, Taurean Prince, Jarrett Allen, and Karis LeVert as they are either hurt or no longer on the Brooklyn Nets. We've taken them all off of the court in this situation. And then we've changed the usage to a per minute basis. And I'm in the points column here. So I want to take a look at Kevin Durant's points. 0.74 points per game with all of the aforementioned guys off the court. So if we look at this 0.74 points per game, we go back over to Numberfire. He's projected to play 40.88 minutes. So we're going to multiply the 40.88 minutes times 0.74. I'm just going to do it on my phone real quick. All right, and that comes out to 30.25 points. So that could kind of give you an idea, projected idea of how many points he scores. So this is also obviously less than 32.5 points. So this is another situation where the under is looking like a good way to go here. So let's go over to RotoWire and we'll take a look at their NBA props for today. No, you do not need to know my location. And so Kevin Durant is at 32.5 points across the board today. We've got him as an even minus 113 here. Over here, we've got him as a minus 116 to go under 32.5. And last but not least, we've got him as a minus 125 to go under 32.5 points. So guys, I think everything adds up for an underplay. It makes a lot of sense here to go under on Kevin Durant at 32.5 points. So I'm sticking to my guns, and I think that is the way that I'm going to ride with this play here. Under on Kevin Durant at 32.5 points. All right, the next player I want to talk about is his teammate, Kyrie Irving, who is at 28.5 points. Now, contrary to Kevin Durant's point prop, I'm actually liking Kyrie Irving to go over 28.5 points. So let's see how things stack up here for Mr. Kyrie Irving. So we'll click the points column here. You can see that he is projected at 29.2 points, which is slightly more than 28.5. So if he scores 29 or more points and we take the over, we're in good shape here, right? So we'll move over to NBA.com. Let's do a search for Kyrie Irving. got to do our homework with these picks. We can't just go out there picking willy-nilly blindly, right? So that's what we're trying to do here together in real time. Now, for the season, 26.9 points per game. That does put him slightly under 28.5 points. So that makes sense. Let's click the stats here. Look at how he's performed throughout the playoffs. He's appeared in 6 games, playing over 38 minutes per game, so he tends to get a little bit more run, a little bit more playing time than Kevin Durant does. Now, in those 6 games, he's averaging 24.8 points per game, which is obviously a quite a bit under 28.5, so less than 28.5. So that is a bit of a knock against Kyrie Irving, but of course, we don't have very many games in the playoffs where, or any games really, where James Harden's missed the entirety of a game, so we're going to have to try and dig a little bit deeper here. So let's click traditional splits. We'll go to advanced filters. Let's remove this playoff filter. Let's change the opponent to just the Milwaukee Bucks. You guys can do all of this stuff yourself. Every resource, every site that I'm showing you in today's video is completely free. It just takes a little bit of know-how and a little bit of time. All right, so he faced Milwaukee 2 times in the regular season. He played about 38 minutes per game. Now, he averaged 29 points per game, which is important because 29 or more points, and we take the over on this 28.5 point prop, we're in good shape. We make some money. So that is a good sign that he has scored pretty well here against this Bucks team. So we're going to move it on over to Basketball Reference now, and we'll do a little search for Kyrie Irving. And we'll look at his game logs and get a kind of a game-by-game look at how well he's been scoring the basketball. So in his last game, which was against the Milwaukee Bucks, he drops 25 points. Now we go back here. He's got 25, 16, 15. So really, he's only covered this 28.5 point prop in 2 games this season, at least in the playoffs, I should say. So he's coming close at 25 points, but close is not good enough. We need him to go over 29 or more points here. So let's go ahead and go back to Court IQ. We'll take a look at Kyrie Irving. Now he's at 0.74 points per minute with all the guys that we talked about before off the court. So he is actually in line here with Kevin Durant. They're both at 0.74 points. So we're going to go back to number fire real quick. We're looking at Kyrie Irving's projected minutes. So he's at 42.12. Let's do a little bit of quick math here on the calculator. 42.12 times 0.74 comes out to 31.16. So that puts him 31 or more points. Now, this isn't a silver bullet here. This isn't some magic trick or something that is solid or concrete or set in stone. This is just a potential projection of how many points he can score. So based on the fact that he scores 0.74 points per minute times the amount of minutes that he's projected to play, over 42, that would put him at over 31 points tonight, meaning the overplay is a good way to go here on Kyrie Irving. And last but not least, we're back to RotoWire. We're going to take a look at Kyrie Irving's point prop across the industry. He is at 28.5 points on 2 different books. We've got him as a minus 120 to go over here and a minus 118 to go over there. So while these odds aren't the strongest, I do tend to agree that there's a chance here that Kyrie Irving can go over 28.5 points based on some of the research that we just did together. But there you have it. I lay all the facts out on the table. You have to make the ultimate decision there. The next guy I want to talk about is Jrue Holiday. We're not talking points this time. We're going to actually talk about his assists at 7.5. They seem a little bit too high, a little too inflated for my taste. I'm thinking that we go under on Jrue Holiday at 7.5 dimes. Let's go ahead and take a look at that together. So we'll go back up here. We'll click the assist column and we'll find Jrue Holiday. He should be pretty high up the list here. There he is at 6.8 assists. Now, obviously that's less than 7.5. Even if we round it up to 7 assists, that puts him under the 7.5 mark, meaning that 7 or less dimes and we take the under, we make money. So let's move over to NBA.com once again here. We'll type in Jrue Holiday's name. I've lost my way here. Let's go back. All right, Jrue Holiday. Actually, let me go back. Oh, boy. Bear with me while we go through these technical difficulties together. All right, for the season, you can see Jrue Holiday's at 6.1 assists per game, which is obviously less than 7.5 assists, so the under is looking like a good way to go. Let's click the stats, take a look at how well he's done in the playoffs versus his season averages. Now, he's appeared in 5 playoff games, playing over 36 minutes per game. His assist numbers are up versus his season average. They're up to 9 assists per game. So that is a little bit of a knock if we're looking to take the under on Jrue Holiday here. So let's click traditional splits. We'll go to advanced filters. We'll remove this playoff filter. We'll change his opponent to just the Brooklyn Nets in this case, and we'll click run it and see how well he's dished dimes out versus this Nets squad throughout the season. He faced them 3 different times this season, 36.6 minutes per game, and during those games, 6.7 assists, which puts him under 7.5. So despite his recent playoff success in terms of his assists trending upward, I still think that there's a little bit of a case to be made here for taking the under on Jrue Holiday in the 7.5 assists. So let's head back over to Basketball Reference. We'll type in Jrue Holiday's name there, and we'll see how well he's done in his recent game logs in terms of dropping dimes, right? So we'll go down to the bottom here, look at his playoffs game logs, and you can see that he has 6 assists in his first game against the Nets in this series. So that would obviously put him under 9, 12, 15, and 3. So he's got some pretty big assist outputs, but those were against the Miami Heat. Maybe he takes on a little bit of a different role against this Brooklyn Nets team. The first game is promising in the fact that he did drop just 6 assists in that one. So let's move over to RotoWire. We'll take a look at how well he's been dishing out dimes across the industry. We'll see if people are taking the over or the under in this case. Now at 7.5 assists, we've got him at one book. One book only has him at 7.5 assists. He's a minus 132 to go under, so I kind of like that. That's looking good. Now 2 other books here, they've got him at 6.5 assists. He's a monster over here, minus 144 and a minus 154. So obviously between 6.5 and 7.5 assists lies 7 assists. So based on the way that these different Vegas lines are set up, these different sports books are set up, it looks like he's going to land on about 7 assists tonight. So I'm going to stick with my guns. I'm going to take the under on Jrue Holiday and hope that he does not drop 8 or more assists in this game. So let's go ahead and move over to our next prop, which is a rebound prop. Jae Crowder of the Phoenix Suns at 4.5 boards. He's been pretty solid at rebounding the basketball this season, falling somewhere between 4 and 5 rebounds per game. So in this case, I think I'm looking to take the over on Jrue Holiday. I'm not Jrue Holiday. Jae Crowder. We're not on Jrue Holiday anymore. Jae Crowder. I'm looking to take the over here. So let's click the rebound column, and we'll do a little search for Mr. Jae Crowder. Now he's at 5.6 projected rebounds in this game, which puts him well over this 4.5 rebound mark. So we got to figure out, are these projections, right? Are they trustworthy? Let's go do a little bit more research together now. So we'll go over here and we'll type in J-A-E, not Jae'Sean Tate, but Jae Crowder. And I keep doing that, and I keep making little typos. So we'll open up Jae Crowder's player card. You can see that for the season, he averages 4.7 rebounds per game. So more often than not, he's closer to 5 rebounds than he is 4 rebounds. So this is looking like a promising over here. So let's click the stats and see how well he's been rebounding on a per game playoff basis versus his season average. You can see he's appeared in 6 playoff games so far, and his rebounding numbers are actually exactly the same for the playoffs as they are for the regular season, 4.7 boards. So really no change there. So we're going to go ahead, click traditional splits, advanced filters. Let's remove this playoff filter. Let's change his opponent to the Denver Nuggets and click run it and see what happens. So he's faced the Nuggets 3 times throughout the regular season, played over 31 minutes per game. In those matchups, just 3.7 rebounds per game. So that's a little bit of a knock against Mr. Crowder and the over here. Makes me a little bit hesitant to take the over here. This could be one where we go against the grain, go against the projections perhaps. So let's look at his game logs here. We're going to type in Jae Crowder. We're going to go on down to his game logs for this season, and more specifically the playoffs. And you can see that we go to the TRB category, total rebounds. He's got rebound totals of 8. Here's a big one, 0, 7, 3, 6, and 4. So at 4.5 boards, he's covered that 1, 2, 3 times out of his last 6 games. So this is kind of one of those coin flip situations here, and especially since we don't have any previous playoff game logs against this Denver Nuggets squad, we're kind of going into it a little bit blind, a little bit dark. So that's why I referred to those regular season matchups against the Denver Nuggets where he rebounded for less than 4 rebounds per game. That's about the most reliable thing we can really go on at this point. So we're back to RotoWire. We're going to click the rebound category here. We're going to go down and find Jae Crowder. He's at 4.5 boards across the industry. Now we're getting some pretty strong odds on this over here. We got him at -127, so not bad, but it gets even better here. -140 for the over, and last but not least, a -128 for the over. So you have a decision to make. Do you trust the season averages for Jae Crowder in the rebound category against the Denver Nuggets, where he rebounded for less than 4.5 rebounds per game? Or do you ride with his season averages and you ride with his recent playoff averages of 4.7 rebounds per game and hope that he pulls in 5 boards or more? Tough decision. For me, after doing the little bit of research that I did here, I think that I'm leaning toward the under on Jae Crowder, but you're going to have to make that decision for yourself. This one's a tough one. This one is a tough one. Could be very, very tricky. You guys be careful out there. And finally, the last prop I want to talk about is Michael Porter Jr. at 20.5 points. 20.5 points. We know Michael Porter Jr. can catch fire at any given moment and crush 20.5 points. He's done it in the past, in the playoffs, I think, in just one half of basketball. But in this case, 20.5 seems like it's going to be a little bit too high based on some of the research that I was doing before hitting record on today's video. So let's go and look at Number Fire, where they've got him at 19 projected points tonight. Now, that's a pretty big difference there when you compare to 20.5 points for a game like we play, a game of edges where we're looking for every little half a point or point advantage that we can get. 1.5 points is a pretty big difference here. So they like the under at 19 points. So let's head over to Basketball Reference. We'll type in Michael Porter Jr.'s name. We've already got him pulled up here. Let's go to his game logs. For the regular season, he has scored exactly 19 points per game, which puts him under 20.5. Now let's flip this over to the playoff tab here. Now in the playoffs, he is scoring right around that same average, actually a little bit lower at 18.8 points per game. Again, putting him in a situation to go under today's point prop of 20.5 points. So the under is kind of looking like a good way to go here on Michael Porter Jr. Being that this is the first time these two teams are facing each other in terms of a playoff matchup, we're kind of going in this a little bit dark here. I like to wait usually a game or two and kind of see how things develop, see where the usage and the scoring and how the game flow is going, but we don't have that luxury here, so we just have to do our very best that we can. So we're going to click the points category. We're going to go find Michael Porter, and you can see that he is at 20.5 points across 3 different books today. They got him as a -120 to go under 20.5, -116 to go under 20.5, and a -128 to go under 20.5. So we got 3 different books here. Although the odds aren't super strong, they're not like -130, -140, 150 even. They are all in favor of going under Michael Porter Jr. in this 20.5 point prop today. So yeah, there's a little bit of risk here to it, but I'm going to ride with those season averages, those playoff averages, the projections today. I'm going to ride with these Vegas lines and hope that Michael Porter Jr. just doesn't go completely nuclear like he did against Portland the other night. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope these plays serve you well. I hope they make you some money. If you found any value in today's video, please hit the like button. I think we're on a 4-day streak, 4-video streak of at least 40 or more likes. Let's try to keep it going today with at least 40 likes on today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit subscribe. Please make sure notifications are turned on. And until the next video, guys, this is CJ. I'll catch you then. Peace out.